I do get a significant number of emails from people who are writers themselves asking for advice, asking questions, wanting answers. The truth of the matter is that there is no formula. There is no formula for writing a great novel. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of books, how to write a bestseller in 30 days and such things as this. I can pretty much guarantee two things. One, the author of that book has never written a bestseller. And secondly, if he did, he never wrote it in 30 days. There is no formula. I mean, some of the most successful books of the past 20, 30 years, if you can imagine an author trying to pitch them to a publisher, John Grisham, for example, created an entire genre by himself of the legal thriller. And prior to that, the legal side of life had been considered perhaps the most infinitesimally boring subject. So you can imagine John Grisham going to a publisher and saying, I'm going to write a series of thrillers based on legal procedure, and they're going to be really sexy and racy and fast-paced, and the publisher would have laughed him out of the building. The other one, for an example, that comes to mind is a great book called The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Another one, The Time Traveller's Wife. We're going to write a book where you have two characters and they have a love affair that span two different time dimensions. Every once in a while, he turns up and he's 33 and she's 12 and he's naked. No, it's not going to work. I mean, in principle, it just doesn't work. Yet the book is wonderful, truly wonderful book. So there is no formula. There is no point in looking for a formula. The best advice I can give an aspiring author is write what you're interested in. Don't write necessarily what you know. I certainly didn't. Write what you're interested in. The thing about writing what you're interested in is that your enthusiasm, your passion for that subject will come through in the prose that you write. The worst thing that you can possibly do is write a novel about a subject which you think other people are going to be interested in, or that you think is going to be commercially appealing. You can always see through that, and that always is so blatantly obvious. Somebody's written a book because they think it will sell. The other thing is that there has to be a balance, certainly when you research, between fiction and non-fiction. For me, non-fiction has always as its sort of primary purpose to convey information. You know, whether or not you want to know about the Normandy landings or basket weaving or medieval castles in Europe. If you want a non-fiction study, you go and get a non-fiction textbook. People read fiction not to be given a lesson. They read fiction because they want to be excited or entertained, or they want to be presented with something that engages them emotionally or mentally. So when you're researching a novel, wear your learning lightly. And what I mean by that is don't so overwhelm your fictional story with fact that it becomes a textbook. You always have to be looking at it from the viewpoint of where are you taking the reader? What are you doing emotionally or mentally with the reader? Are you engaging them? Are you losing their interest? Are you keeping the thing running at a pace and keeping them involved in the story? Or have you gone off into a sort of a thicket of anecdotes about goodness knows what else, how to build Spitfires, that people really don't want to know about unless they actually want to build a Spitfire. So that's the thing that you have to be careful of. When people say, what books should I read? There's only two that I ever recommend. One is On Writing by Stephen King, just simply because it's 300 pages of great text about what it is to be a professional writer by one of the most successful commercial writers that ever lived. Irrespective of whether or not you like Stephen King as a writer, it's actually a great book and he's got some great advice in it. The second one is a book that's been published by Picador, which is an anthology of interviews from the Paris Literary Review. It's called the Paris Literary Review Interviews Anthology Volume 1. And it has interviews with people like Steinbeck and Hemingway and Dorothy Parker and James M. Cain and Truman Capote and Kurt Vonnegut. And the thing that you very quickly realise when you read 1, 2, 3 of these interviews is that absolutely not one of them is in any way, shape or form similar to another. All of them are entirely unique, all of them have entirely different methods of operation, and there is no right way to write a book. There is no right way to do it. You just have to do it the way that you think is the best way to do it, and that's going to be the right way for you.